Hi, my name is Mark. I'm with Airsoft, and in these series of videos I'll be showing you some basic troubleshooting tips for your AEG. Alright, so here we have a bunch of different guns, and there's a bunch of different motor adjustments that have to be performed for each type of gun here. We have the AEG, the M4, AK-47, G36, and P90. Please watch closely as I'll show you how to adjust the motor for each of them. Here we have a D-Boys M4, and this is the motor plate held in by these two screws. Sometimes when the screws are too loose, either just through regular play, wear and tear, and vibration, the motor plate will come loose. You can see here it should be sitting flush, but it's actually sticking out a bit, and this is what you'll hear. That quick, high-pitched whirring noise, that's actually coming from the pistol grip and not the body of the gun. That means that the motor is adjusted too low, so we're going to adjust the motor plates, and that should fix it. So just tighten those two screws and you should be good. So here's an example of a motor plate that's fully seated in, but with the motor adjustment screw set too low. You'll hear very much the same sound as the motor plate when it was really loose. That's because the motor adjustment screw is really loose. So what you want to do is turn it clockwise, basic rule of thumb, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we're going to give it a half turn and test fire it. Since it's this loose, we're just going to give it full turns now. Give it another full turn. Okay, that's sounding a little louder. That's the sound of the motor engaging with the gearbox. So let's give it another full turn, and just want to keep testing it out. Okay, getting closer. Let's give it 2 turns just to make sure it engages fully. Alright, you can hear it firing. I just want to do small increments now. Just give it a quarter turn, test fire, quarter turn, test fire, and you want to find that sweet spot where the motor is turning over as quickly as it can. Okay, in some instances, when you're adjusting the motor, sometimes you can turn the motor too high and it's too far into the gears and it's not reaching the optimal angle of engagement for the gearbox. When that happens, it'll usually sound like this. You can hear it firing and turning over much slower. You can feel a lot of resistance in the motor. So we're going to loosen the motor now by turning it counterclockwise and lowering it. So we're going to give it a turn, test fire it, another half turn, test fire, half turn, and right about there. You can hear it, the gearbox becomes really snappy, you can hear the motor turning over really fast. So it's kind of a bit of an art more than a science. You just want to give it nice half turn increments until you find that sweet spot. And that's how you do a motor adjustment. Here we have a JG AEG. The motor adjustment is actually far in the back stock of the gun. As you can see here, there's a tiny screw hole, and what you want to do is not stick it in straight, but you want to actually kind of take a peek into the hole, see where it is, and it's actually angled forward towards the front of the gun. You kind of just gotta get a feel for it, but once it catches, you'll definitely know, and then you can start adjusting the motor that way. Here we have a standard M4, D-Boys M4. The motor adjustment screw is right here on the very bottom, flathead screwdriver. Sometimes with some different models, TM, Classic Army, or JG, they will switch it up and use a 1.5 or 2 millimeter hex screw hole. But for this instance, we just have a standard flathead screw. Here we have a JG G36. The motor adjustment screw is that tiny hole right here. This is a version 3 gearbox. This screw just holds the motor securely in place. Don't worry about that. That's not the motor adjustment screw. It's that tiny hole with the hex key. And you catch it and it adjusts. The AK-47 series is a little different. You'll see the small screw here at the bottom. This actually is not the motor adjustment screw. This is just the screw that secures the pistol grip in place. So you want to take that off first. Take it off all the way, and then kind of pull, and it slides right off. And it adjusts just like any other hex key motor. Stick it in the bottom, make sure it catches, and then you can start adjusting. Here's one that's a little different from the rest of the bunch. It's the JG P90. The motor adjustment screw, just like the AUG, is in the back, so you need to take the back plate off, just like you were accessing the battery. And right here is the motor adjustment screw. I believe it's a 2mm hex key. Stick it in there and you can adjust the motor from that point.